Good morning, guys. Happy 4th of July. This is Pete from MyJewelryBench.com. In today's video, we're going to cover dent removal from an antique pocket watch. Enjoy. So let's take a quick look at this pocket watch. This is an old antique Elgin keywind pocket watch. And if we pop it open, you can see that we have a key set in the center there. It's a nice pocket watch. Customer sent it over to me. It is keywind. You don't have to open the dust cover to get to it, but you can see that the included key here. Put the key in there. We're going to turn that, and this watch needs to be serviced, but I did want to cover the dent removal. It might be a little difficult to see, but I'm going to try to show you in the reflection here that this case, if we look closely, you can see under certain reflections that there is some slight denting in the outer case on the back. So I'm going to try to get a good view of that. Let's just put something down here so we can try to see it better. And if you look, there's some indentations and some scratching, and right there, if we look at the reflection, you can see that it's just not perfect. Now, the customer doesn't really want it to be perfect, but he wants the dents less noticeable. So what I'm going to try to do is, using some hand tools, I'm going to attempt to remove those small dents in this watch, and then we can polish it up and make it look real good. You can see 120 years of wear. We've got some scratching on this, and we're going to clean this up and service it for the customer also. So by the time we're done, this watch should look about 97%. I'm not going to change the crystal. We are working on a budget for this customer, so we're going to save him a $40 charge for replacing the glass crystal. Let's grab our screwdrivers, because we always need those. And let's get to work on that part of it. Take my parts tray and I get these parts all organized. Grab my tweezers, and we're going to pop these hands off. It's your hand removal tool. And I'll put a link to some of these tools in the description below, as well as in the article that I write about this, because I'll be doing a small article on this on my website at myjewelrybench.com. So check that out. Let's get this decased. So to decase this watch, we have a case screw right here, and then it's keyed at one side, usually the opposite side of the case screw. So if we undo this case screw and we turn it to where the flat side is facing the outside, when I open this up, the movement should just come right out like that. So here's the movement. If we look closely, if I can zoom in here, sadly this thing's pretty dirty. I'm gonna guess that this watch hasn't been serviced maybe 60, 65 years. There's no marking on the case that has shown anywhere that it was serviced. We do have a small little chip in the dial, but it is original, so we're going to leave that. And then I mentioned when I took the case, or removed the movement from the case, we have a key here, and that key slips into the case, and then you lock the movement into the case with the case screw. I'm just going to put that aside, and we'll get to that in the next video. So now let's close this up, except for the back cover. So now we're working with this silver case, well, silveroid case, not made by Elgin. It was a third-party product that Elgin probably had manufactured for their watches. And again, we have a small indent here. So we want to kind of work that out. Now I have several watch movement holders. I like to use a soft foam one for this process, and we're going to grab some tools that we would typically use. I'm going to show you how I tend to do it. Now, in the jewelry business, because I do both jewelry and watch repairs and manufacturing, so if we look at tools, we have this round nose forming tool, and you can buy these in a kit. They come in all different sizes from about 1.5 millimeter up to a few centimeters. This is a larger one. It is metal, it's stainless steel, and in the jewelry business, when we're forming jewelry, we can use these to form a piece of jewelry the way we want to, usually flat sheet. But on a pocket watch case, if I use this metal tool to start forming, I'm going to do two things. I'm going to put a little too much pressure on the metal, and I'm going to scratch the metal surface, which I could buff out again, but we want to avoid that as much as possible. The metal or stainless forming tools will, in my opinion, cause a little too much damage on the case. So then what I do is I move to a wooden forming tool, and these you can buy at any jewelry outlet or on Amazon. I'll put some links to these online. And it's a nice hand tool, so you hold it in your hand, put a little pressure there, and by applying ever so slight pressure onto the case in a rubbing motion, and remember these cases are hard, so the wood's a softer material, and it allows me to control how much pressure I'm actually putting on the case. So you can see I'm taking it, and while I'm putting a few marks on it, it's not nearly going to be as bad as if I were using the metal tool. So we're going to rub this again on a watch pad. Some people will use a small sandbag. You could do that too. In more severe cases, you might use a mallet, a rubber mallet, to pound some pressure into this. And we still have some dents here. I've got a dent there, so if we translate that to the other side of the case, it's right here. And I can see that dent right there. So what I'm going to do is just ever so slightly rub this back and forth, putting about 30 pounds of pressure on it. And I'm going to try to remove that dent. And it is slowly coming out. Ever so slightly. Okay. Much less noticeable. So we have right there, and then I've got another indentation right here. So I'm going to do the same here. And I'm going to rub back and forth, putting a nice even pressure along the dent as well as the surrounding area, but not trying to stretch it. A small one right there. We're slowly getting there. Now, if these were larger dents, what I would do is probably grab a rawhide mallet, and what you could do is you put that there, and then, let's see if I can get this in the camera, you're going to gently tap. And again, you're going to do it on a soft surface so that you don't put too much pressure. For instance, right here I have a larger indent, so I can take the dull end of my wood forming tool, put that right here, right onto that dent, and then gently tap and see if I've worked that out. And you may not be able to see it, but that dent, just that little tapping, it's now gone. So I'm going to rub that out just to blend it in. Okay, that dent is pretty much gone. Yeah, that worked well. So we're going to do that over here where that first dent was. Just tap it very lightly, and that's much better. Just going to look for that little bit. Again, I'm using the wood because the wood is soft. It allows me to control how much pressure I apply to the case so that I don't damage it. And now I'm going to blend it all in by slowly rubbing the inside of the case. And let's take a look at the outside. Let's see if I can get a shot of that. You can see it's much better than it was in the reflection, which is kind of nice. And I'd say that all in all, as long as this still closes, and it does, we're in good shape. So when you're doing a pocket watch like this, or any case back on a watch, when you're putting pressure on this, the reason I apply very little pressure is because this has to form a seal and close correctly. Sometimes you can stretch out the perimeter or deform the back of the watch case, and if you do that, it won't close correctly. So we want to make sure that we don't damage the perimeter of our case back, which would require us to do some more forming to get this inward to seal on the outside of the pocket watch case. Some jewelers today will deal with watches that we have to fix because customers will come in, put a battery in their watch, and they push on the center of the case, and they put an indent in the case, and now the case won't close onto their wristwatch. Similar effect to this, so you just want to be aware of that. Looking at this, and I don't see really any serious denting left. There's one more area right here. If I get that in my view, right here, and I'm just going to rub that up. I'd say this is about 85% better. It's not perfect. I'm not going to make it perfect. This is an antique watch and we just want it to look much more presentable. The naked eye customer won't see any of that. And the trick to this, sometimes what I do is I'll take some polishing solutions, just a cream, and I will hand polish the case a little bit just to see if there's any more reflection there that I'm going to get a dent from, or a dent reflection. And just a very, very small little indent left, and I'm not going to worry about that because once it's polished up, you're not even going to notice that. So when we finish this case off, we're going to remove all the scratches here, and I'll use a polishing machine to do that. I'll be glad to show you how to do that. Guys, that's how we remove dents from a pocket watch case. This is a silveroid, so silver and nickel. If you're working with gold or gold-filled, much softer material, so you want to apply even less pressure. With the nickel and silver cases, because the metal is stronger, you can apply a little extra pressure to that. But keep that in mind, you don't want to overcorrect the dent. You want to work very slowly and allow the forming tool to do all the work. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to share it, I appreciate it. The more you like and the more you share, the more views I get, and that always helps keep this channel going. Guys, take care. Happy 4th of July. Stay safe.